continues here on Mackie and Judd. So many great Vikings things here. Let's go to Adnan via the YouTube comment section, where he says, loving Kevin O'Connell by the day. He is that cool teacher we had in high school. That's a great description of Kevin O'Connell.
Driver's ed too, right? He doubles it as the driver's ed guy.
My driver's ed guy was very old and coughing in Buffalo, Minnesota.
I think now they're cool. I think now we turn to page.
How do you have this in? What is your criteria?
I've seen it in movies. I've seen it in movies. I've seen O'Connell types teaching driver's ed.
Yeah, why do you think every driver's ed teacher I've ever seen is like 60?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think it's changed.
This is weird.
Based on what?
Yeah.
Based on my observation of films in which I've seen driver's ed teachers.
Movies? How many movies have driver's ed? What movies are you watching?
I've seen a couple movies.
Declan, have you ever seen a driver's ed teacher in a movie before?
No. You've taken a wrong right-hand turn. I'm just
telling you guys right now. I think let's find out if anybody knows. Tell us. Are driver's ed teachers now cool?
Oh, man. All right. Fani says, in February, I was disappointed the Vikings didn't hire Jim Harbaugh. And like everyone, I had no idea who Kevin O'Connell was until then. Since then, I started following KOC in press conferences, practice field videos, and of course the Purple Daily Show. As always, I see a confident young coach who has a good plan and knows what he's doing, genuinely loves and respects the players. Love what I watched on Sunday against the Packers. The next big test would be playing on the road in a tough environment, especially if they are down by a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Yeah, we haven't really revisited that much, but I mean, Harbaugh was the known commodity. You also knew that it was probably going to be like a 4-year run, and then much like every place, he's going to burn people out. But you knew that he's a winner. He came right into San Francisco 10 years ago. And you're comparing him to this sort of unknown 30-something guy that didn't call plays in LA. But aren't we now seeing what was probably so impressive behind the scenes in all these discussions with the Wilfs, that Kevin O'Connell gets in a room, and then he's proving it on game day, at least in week 1, too. It's obvious why he was so impressive now, even though we didn't really know who he was like a year ago.
Yeah, and I'm curious if Harbaugh wanted, when they talked to him, to go forward with Kirk. Like, I could easily see Jim saying, it's not my guy. I think O'Connell's platform was, I can maximize Kirk. Harbaugh strikes me, and I do think Kwesi's top choice was probably Jim, because, I mean, they go back to their time together in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. But I think Harbaugh probably said, I would rather have a different QB. And look, the Vikings, there's no question. The Vikings had conversations with teams, and there were talks about moving on from Kirk. O'Connell's the guy, I think, who put his flag in the ground and said, I can make this work. So this will continue to be the grand experiment of can O'Connell's way make Kirk, and right now it looks good, but it's again one game. Can his strategy, play calling, and mentality of how he handles Kirk get something out of Kirk when it comes to wins and losses that no previous coach going back to the Commanders has?
Ryan M. chimes in here via the SKOR North app. Hey, Phil, I was just scrolling through YouTube and found a video with a guy who puts PFF grades into an algorithm and then makes a purely analytical-based power rankings based on the results of his algorithm. Got to hit you with this one here.
Get those nerds!
Signed Derek Falvey.
Yeah. According to his work, and by the way, this guy has like 100,000 subs on YouTube, so this isn't just like a random basement dweller. According to his work, the Vikings are somehow number 1 in the entire NFL. Maybe worth a little mention and breakdown on an upcoming episode. Just dig into his channel to find out how his post-week 1 results from last year shaped up. Care to guess who the number 1 team was after week 1 last year?
The Rams.
Mm-hmm. The Rams. So this guy pegged the Rams after 1 week last year and said, that's the team right there.
Very good.
And this year he's got the Vikings pegged. What do you think? You trust random YouTube algorithm guy to be predicting the Vikings' first Super Bowl championship in 5 months from now?
Well, I mean, the Rams looked unbelievable the first 2 months of the season. It's when they hit that adversity in November, they didn't win a game, and then it was like, oh, that luster wore off a little bit. In terms of the algorithm, I mean, it's cool because the Vikings look so good in Week 1, and the NFC is so wide open that there's no one on top that is the juggernaut like the Chiefs and Bills are in the AFC, essentially. So. I think it's more the climb, i.e. Miley Cyrus, that the Vikings are basically on here where they can go up to the top and knock someone off. And it's about that climb.
Oh, a Miley Cyrus
You like
reference
that?
here. I
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
like that?
She's
I
great.
don't, but
She's great, man. She's
I love
fantastic.
Miley's
Great
phenomenal.
voice. Great voice.
I like
She's
her.
real.
I like her newer stuff better than her early stuff because she
Her
was
covers
like
are great. She's very
16
good.
singing weird songs.
Oh
back
yeah,
then.
well yeah,
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Agreed with that.
Kib Beast via YouTube says, I love Doogie, but at the 20-minute mark of yesterday's scoop session, I completely disagree. He said that Kirk's pocket presence was fine last year. Kirk's pocket presence has been dog bleep in past years.
Yeah, we disagree.
Sunday was a major improvement. I think
Yes.
Judd was about to throw hands with Doogie there yesterday.
I just didn't agree with him. I'm sorry. I don't remember the last time that I saw Kirk basically run up in the pocket and loft a pass that's not great, but is really smart down field that goes for a 62-yard gain.
Yeah.
Like, I don't recall that. I remember Kirk being stripped of the ball. I remember Kirk, like, being flustered. What I saw on Sunday was a far more confident Kirk. And again, it doesn't come to, are you scrambling? It comes to, are you manipulating the pocket? Just here and there. Manipulating it. That's a very football thing I just said. I'd like to hear the sounder, please.
God, you're so high maintenance with
You
this
are.
Well,
stuff.
'cause they took
you
the sounder
lost,
away.
You lost the button bar, but then you call for things that
I know.
people aren't ready for.
You know what? That's what happens. They took the button bar away. I'm flustered. I want the button bar back. Anyway, yes, I disagree with Doogie, and I agree with that note that Kirk's presence in the pocket on Sunday really impressed me.
2 years ago, Kirk Cousins had the seventh most self-inflicted pressures of any quarterback in the league.
Football.
The six guys above him were all scrambling quarterbacks who just like sometimes will scramble their way out of and into pressure, right? And so of the pocket passers, 2 years ago, he had the most self-inflicted pressures, meaning, hey, the offensive line actually did its job and you just like didn't throw the ball or didn't move a step or whatever it may be. He was much better in that category last year. So there were some improvements last year, but yes, he has had some issues just sensing where to be in the pocket. And it's like, I mean, he actually had among the most fumbles of any quarterback for a couple of years there too. So it's been a problem for him, but it looked good on Sunday. Chad Evans says via the SKOR North app, love the content all around. I have not listened to the other radio station at all for almost 2 years. It's a long time to not have listened to, Cities 97 or
KQRS?
whatever radio station you're
CCO?
referring to there. Yes. Love listening to you guys and your takes. Would love after the Twins season. Would love after this Twins season's terrible end for a Twins vent line or eulogy going into the hot stove season. Keep up the great work. You know, I know some people are going to hate to hear this. I don't know how much Twins we're going to be talking, man. We reflect what the audience wants us to talk about.
Yeah.
And there's a pretty big gap between how you guys respond to Twins discussions versus Vikings, Wild, Wolves, whatever. So,
For my own sake, I would like to take a few big clumps of dirt and just toss them on the carcass that is the 2022
Okay,
Twins.
Undertaker.
well, they just swept the Royals, so I
Yeah,
don't know
they're
why
back.
You're so negative.
I could call for more sound, you know. Coming up next. Coming up next. Coming up next on Bally Sports North, a great young Kansas City team with a bright future is no challenge for our Red Hot Twins. Yes, Dick, it's great to be here tonight in Cleveland where the Twins open a 5-game hopeless, very hopeful series.
Coming up next, we'll tell you how the Twins just swept 2029 playoff contender, the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah, exactly right. 2015 World Series champions. How did the Twins do it?
Oh, man. Jonathan Gardner. This next question actually is going to be presented by our friends at the Meadows at Mystic. Fall golf season is in the air here soon, folks.
Yes, I love me some fall golf, and whether it's summer golf, fall golf, spring golf, Meadows at Mystic Lake is the best place to go. It's an award-winning 18-hole public golf course. They have a great pro shop and golf shop as well. There's nothing worse than you walk in and maybe you see like a sleeve of balls. They have a whole selection. They have a whole selection of apparel too as well. You can even enjoy a cold one on the Meadows Bar and Grill inside or outside. You can book your tee time and book this experience now. Go to golfthemeadows.com to learn more. Golf the Meadows, the Meadows at Mystic Lake.
Jonathan Gardner says, hey, quick question for this winter. I love the rotating hosts and shows on the Purple Daily feed. Yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying Realistic Randy, Before We Die, Trenches with Boone. Great job finding solid talent to help out. I was wondering if you guys have a similar plan for the Timberwolves this season. They're going to be huge, and there isn't a number one place for daily Wolves content aside from a couple of YouTube channels out there. I think some of those YouTube guys, along with Kyle Tighe, would make an excellent dynamic on SKOR. Excited to continue listening. So our plan right now, dude, it would be a blast to do daily Wolves stuff. I think what you're going to find, we're going to do a lot of Wolves stuff on Mackie and Judd. A lot of Wild stuff, Judd's hockey show. So we will regularly be talking about Wolves Wild on our show. On Flagrant Howls, so Kyle and I are doing weekly episodes in the offseason. We will do 2 a week during the season. Right now, we don't have plans, and it's more just like, we're still growing this business. We're 3 years into this thing at SKOR North with a giant pandemic turd dropped in the middle of it. So we, I think at some point, there is room for daily Wild and daily Wolves. And we used to have daily Twins 3 years ago during the Bomba season, and then they flamed out a little bit there, and interest kind of waned. But yes, we will try and do as much as we can with just we have a small staff and we're trying to grow this thing. So yeah, I mean, how many episodes you guys are going to do? At least a couple episodes of Judd's hockey show too. So
yeah,
we'll be
we always
knocking
do
them
a
off left and right.
couple a week and post-game shows when we can. And yeah, it's the state of hoops, state of hockey. I love all this stuff, man.
And in general, like, even if these we're talking about kind of our Wolves and Wild spin-off shows, but Mackie and Judd is going to be a daily place for largely for Wolves and Wild, and obviously we got Purple Daily for Vikings and stuff. So, but we love when you send us thoughts and feedback like this because it helps us figure out what we're going to do going forward. And then our guy Richard Benson chimes in. Ever since PJ Fleck became head coach at the U of M, Patrick Royce has attempted to besmirch his reputation. The implication seems to be that Fleck, while preaching a message of rectitude and honorableness, has the opposite goal in mind, unbeknownst to all but Patrick. I don't know that Royce has ever produced the receipts to prove his case. As a matter of fact, these young men who are being coached by Fleck seem to be of the highest character, both on and off the field. I agree, by the way. I think Pat's too hard on Fleck. Last week, Pat even made a quick drive-by on one of your podcasts wherein he called Kevin O'Connell and Sean McVay smug. I, for one, would like to see old Patrick be able to join in on the fun during this football season with these young coaches. However, if he wants to get on the bandwagon, I feel like he needs to address his negative remarks about these men. Phil, I think if anyone has the people skills and the verbal skills to navigate this situation and rehabilitate Royce's reputation, it is you, old bean.
Old bean.
Go for it.
I do speak Royce, but this is how he has always felt about young, rah-rah culture coaches. He thinks it's all BS. I mean, Pat will say about baseball, quit talking about culture. Culture is hitting an RBI double. And he's like 80% right. But sometimes culture leads to players maximizing the best version of themselves, and you need to figure that out. But I think at this point, Pat, he gives PJ credit for being a good enough football coach. He just doesn't like PJ's personality, right? He's not like discrediting PJ as a coach. Right. He just doesn't like the way that he goes about his marketing and personality.
Yeah. And O'Connell, I wouldn't call him smug, but I mean, football coaches are a different breed. Like, you don't become a football coach just by being a great guy. So like they're going to be, are they arrogant to a certain degree? I think they have to be, don't they? Like, I don't think that you can be a shrinking violet football coach. And O'Connell's not like arrogant in a bad way, but I mean
He's not arrogant at all.
He's very self-confident, which is awesome, and he is like the whole operation of running an entire team. It takes a personality type. Like you can't be a quiet guy who's a great football mind is called a coordinator.
Well, but PJ and Kevin O'Connell are both very different.
Yes.
I think PJ's a little arrogant in that it's a lot about PJ. But I also think when you're trying to take kind of a middling, Midwest, nondescript college football program in which you're trying to get, it's not like the NFL where you can hand select the players that you want to come play for you in the draft.
Right.
It's the NFL is sports socialism. Everything is even across the board. In fact, the bad teams get an advantage. They get to draft earlier. But everyone has the same salary cap. In college football, players choose where they want to play. Now there's NIL money in some of these big areas too. Like you need to stand out to get the attention of players. And so you have to have that sort of grandiose personality.
And I think where Fleck also sees an opportunity and probably jumps it is this. Like when you're a college football coach, you're going to have players for, well, now it's 6 years, but ordinarily to go back, it's 4, right? So like people leave constantly. So like you are ideally the face of the program. O'Connell's got Jefferson here for how long? You know? So I think it's much easier as a pro coach to showcase the players and take a little bit of a back seat. But if PJ Fleck was like, okay, we've got Mo and Tanner Morgan, they're the face here. Well, 1, they're gone. And 2, when you're trying to recruit, I think it's incredibly important now to have a coach who is identified. Where O'Connell can just be like, hey, we got Daniil Hunter, we've got JJ, run with it, gentlemen.
Yep. Okay, what are the chances that if I sat down with Pat and said, "Hey, man, it's time for you to apologize here"?
F off.
How would that go? Pat, listen, I need to talk to you about something really important.
Yeah, he'd be a former SKOR North
What's your
contributor.
attitude? What's your attitude about PJ?
No.
That'd be amazing.
I would love to get Pat and PJ Fleck on a podcast together, though, because I think it would be amazing for one. Well, he did something with, who was it? I think he did a radio show with Tim Brewster one time, didn't he?
Brewster
On
was one of the
1500
first
ESPN?
guests, right? I think Brewster might have been the first guest before you started. I think he
On
was
his yes.
on the.
There was like a
Sports
3-month
Talk, was
buffer
it?
before it was Sports Talk, but it wasn't
Such?
1500 ESPN yet for like 3 months, and then I joined kind of when we were like officially launching the brand. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you have it. There's your feedback here. We're not going to have a come to Jesus meeting with Patrick. He's just going to be
it makes no
Patrick
sense.
at this point. So, and he's allowed on the bandwagon, but he doesn't want to be on the bandwagon. I think he would just prefer to be away from the bandwagon.
It's fine.
I think that
That's
the
fair.
Twins are the only team that he really rides the roller coaster with too, and I think he's disappointed in them. But you can always hit us up, SKOR North app, feedback tab. Send in your questions. We gather them for these late week episodes, and we turn the show over to you guys. Don't forget, speaking of that, Vikings Vent Line exclusively on the Purple Daily YouTube channel right after each Vikings game, including Monday Night Football. See you guys.